Well, the time has come, our exciting finale, the final story in Tripping Over the Lunch Lady. I will be taking a little bit of a break from reading to you. I have started a Google Classroom page where I'm encouraging everybody to do a little bit of reading on their own, and I'll still upload videos of me reading, but I have kind of like a crime noir I've been waiting to crawl back into, and my friend Slava now got me a horror book for Christmas that I've been wanting to open up and get started reading. And I don't know if it'll make the best videos to read that aloud to you. And I kind of enjoy books a little bit more when I'm able to sink in and kind of do some thinking and daydream and make movies in my head. And it's a little bit harder for me to do that when I read out loud. So I'm going to take a break. But look, we did it. We read this whole book, or at least we will by the time we finish this last story. So let's get into it. This is Tied to Zelda by David Rice. My next door neighbor, Zelda Fuerte, scares me and gives me the chills at the same time. She's the biggest tomboy in town and the evil twin sister I never wanted. She can outrun any boy, climb a tree faster than a cat, and spit the farthest. My dad always invites her to our house to play since she doesn't have a father around. She's the son my father wants me to be. He always says, "Do it like Zelda." When my dad isn't around, Zelda likes to play Tie Up, a game she invented. She's always tying me up, but I always escape. The only time I am safe is summer. That's when Zelda, her mother and sisters drive to Utah to pick fruit. My father and I help Zelda and her family board up their house and load their van. Zelda always looks a little sad when she leaves, and I am too, since I have to mow their lawn while they are away. In the fall, I only see Zelda in the school halls, and we exchange semi-friendly highs. Other than that, I stay away from her. Our school has a yearly tradition called Sadie Hawkins Day, where boys and girls are paired up to compete in a three-legged race and an egg-tossing contest. I think it sounds kind of dumb, but there are big prizes worth big bucks. If you win the three-legged race, you get 2 passes to Splash World for the whole summer and free hot dogs. That's pretty cool. If you win the egg-tossing contest, you get 2 passes to sports camp at the local college. 3 weeks of running and sweating and the whole time coach is yelling, no thanks. Anyway, 1 week before Sadie Hawkins Day, the teachers got all the 5th graders into the cafeteria and they brought out 2 big baskets, one with the boys' names and the other with the girls' names. Our drama teacher spun the baskets around a few times and took a name from each basket. He was really hamming it up. "Now hear this! Now hear this!" he said over a megaphone. Then he called a girl's name real slowly. And there was an "ooh" throughout the cafeteria. Then he called out a boy's name and everyone cheered, whistled, and clapped. The next girl's name he pulled out was Zelda Fuerte. That's how he called everyone's name. When her name was called out, my best friend Jorge leaned over to me. "Man, whoever is Zelda's partner will win both contests," he said. "Forget it. I don't want to go to sports camp," I said. Don't you want the Splash World pass?" Jorge asked. "Free admission for the whole summer and free hot dogs too." "Yeah, it'd be cool, but I don't want to be tied up to Zelda," I said. "What's wrong with being tied up to Zelda?" Jorge asked. "She's a not Nazi," I said. Our teacher pulled out a boy's name and held it high. He smiled and pointed at me like he was a game show host. "Alfonso Flores!" Jorge and the whole cafeteria started laughing. I looked over at Zelda, and she threw her arms up like she lost the national championship. After all the names were called, Zelda walked up to me. "Alfonso, after school, meet me in the gym," she said. "But I have a computer club meeting, and I tried to finish, but she cut me off. "After school in the gym. Don't make me come looking for you. I know where you live." She spun around and walked off in a huff. After school, during the computer club meeting, Jorge asked me if he could borrow my Splash World pass. "Look, I don't want to be tied up, and I don't want to throw eggs," I said. "Come on, don't be a baby. It's just your ankles tied together, and everybody likes throwing eggs." Jorge said, "And if you win, you can share Splash World and hot dogs." "Well, if you want the passes so bad, why don't you and your partner practice, and you can win the passes to Splash World?" "Because Zelda's the best. No one can beat her," Jorge said. Then the door busted open, and there was Zelda. looking real mad. My first thought was to run, but she was blocking the only escape route. I told you to be in the gym after school so we could practice, she shouted firmly. Can't you find someone else? I squeaked. I can't. You know the rules. Monday we'll practice. We're gonna win, she said, and she slammed the door. Jorge threw his arms up like he won a gold medal. Splash World, here we come. I was a little worried, but the weekend was here, and I thought Zelda would forget, but she didn't. On Sunday night, she came to my house, and my mom let her in. I was helping my father tighten a nut under the bathroom sink, unaware that Zelda was working on my mother. My dad told me to get him a glass of water, and I walked into the kitchen. They were sitting at the breakfast table. Mom looked thrilled. She waved a friendly dish rag at me. You didn't tell me you and Zelda were partners in the Sadie Hawkins Day Festival. But I don't, I managed to say. Then Zelda cut me off. If we win the three-legged race, we get 2 passes to Splash World, and if we win the egg tossing contest, we get 2 passes to summer sports camp. Isn't that great? Zelda said, all happy. My mother shook her excited dish rag. Wow, when is the festival? I mean, you two need to practice. It was exactly what Zelda wanted to hear. That's why I came by, she said. The festival is this Friday, and we need to practice every day after school. Forget it, I said. I don't want to go to sports camp. My mother turned to me, narrowed her eyes, and shook her angry dish rag. Whatever, you're going to be partners with Zelda. Zelda smirked at me, and when my mother turned back to her, she looked all hurt and sad. Zelda sighed. Well, Mrs. Flores, if Alfonso doesn't want to be my partner, I guess I'll have to find someone else. And she lowered her head. My mother tossed the emotionally wrecked dish rag on the table. Then my father walked in with a wrench in his hand and put it down on the table with a hard metal sound. What do you mean you don't want to be Zelda's partner? But Dad, I don't want to go to sports camp, I said. He picked up his wrench and waved it like a warlock ready to cast a spell. Alfonso, you're going to practice every day with Zelda. All you ever do is play on your computer. If you don't practice, you'll find your computer in the trash can, Dad said, and tossed his wrench on the kitchen table. Zelda threw her arms up in glee. Great, we'll practice every day till we get it right. My mother smiled and picked up the happy dish rag and waved it. Practice makes perfect. I dropped my head in defeat. In the morning, I cautiously walked the school halls, turning corners slowly, trying to avoid Zelda. Then I saw her marching toward me. She yelled, Freeze! I took a step back and saw the boys' restroom. I thought about running in there, but when I turned, there was Monica, Zelda's best friend. I took another step back, felt a heavy hand on my shoulder. I turned around, and there stood Zelda. Where do you think you're going? Zelda asked. I have to pee really bad, I said. Zelda pushed me against the lockers. Squeeze your legs and hold it, she said. Then Zelda poked my chest with each word as she said, Today, after school, you better be there. Monica poked my chest too. You better. We want the sports passes, she said. I was scared, but then I saw Jorge coming down the hall. I shouted, Help me! I felt better when Jorge walked up, but then he and Zelda acted like they were best friends. What's up? Jorge said to Zelda. Just making sure Alfonso meets me after school. He'll be there. We want the passes to Splash World, Jorge said as he crossed his arms. But I don't want to play tie-up, I pleaded. Jorge looked confused. Tie-up, he said. Zelda poked my chest. You better play tie-up, or else. She paused and grinned. I'll tell your father, and he'll take away your computer. I looked at Jorge for help. Quit acting like a baby, he said. Everybody likes being tied up and throwing eggs. After school, Zelda escorted me outside to the recess area. She put down her backpack and took out a piece of rope. I always carry my own rope, she said as she raised her eyebrows a couple of times. Fear swelled in my stomach. Zelda tied my ankle to hers real tight, and I felt my bones crushing. She said we had to run like one person. We started running, but I tripped and made us fall. She shook her head and pulled me up. I thought for sure she was going to beat me up, but instead she smiled. You okay? She asked. I nodded as I brushed off my jeans. Monica and 2 other girls cheered us on. Come on, Alfonso, you can do it. They shouted like cheerleaders. I never had anyone cheer for me, and it felt good. Zelda put her arm around my waist, and I put my arm around her shoulders. She said to hold her tight. Okay, she said. We start off slow until we're together, and then we speed up. We took small, slow steps, and then faster, bigger ones. And then we were running. Zelda's friends were cheering louder, and I felt like a sports star. We slowed down to a stop and turned around and started all over again. We ran back and forth, and each time we were getting faster and faster. Then we fell again, but this time we fell hard. I banged my head against the ground and got a nasty red mark, but no blood. Zelda and her friends helped me up. They had their hands all over me, brushing off the dry grass and fixing my hair, asking me if I was okay and stuff like that. Then Zelda brought out a golf ball. Time to practice egg tossing. She raised the white ball to my eyes. Use both hands and keep your eye on the ball. We started at 5 feet from each other and tossed the ball back and forth. Each time I dropped the ball, we started all over again, and she'd say, only the ball. But it was hard for me to see the white blurry object. She'd toss the ball, and I'd lose it in the clouds. Maybe I needed glasses. Each time I dropped the ball, I thought Zelda was going to get mad, but she didn't. This is practice. You can mess up all you want, but not on game day, she said. I nodded. Right, coach, I said. She smiled and punched my arm. I found out that other teams were practicing. Even Jorge was practicing with his partner, and that got me pumped. It made me want to win the race and the contest. Zelda and I could run the three-legged race really fast, and I was getting better at catching the ball. The second it touched my fingers, I closed my hands tightly around it. I could tell Zelda was proud of me. I'm going to pause right there, and we'll do a two-part today.